Welcome to Bloodbath and Beyond. Today we review the 2010 remake of I Spit on Your Grave. It's date night.
Directed by Stephen R. Monroe, starring Sarah Butler, Jeff Branson, and Andrew Howard. I Spit on Your Grave is about Jennifer Hills, a writer who wants to escape the big city and stay at a cabin in the country so she can collect her thoughts and get some writing done. Unfortunately, while she's there, she's assaulted by some locals and she now has to seek revenge. This is a request from our top donator over on Patreon, Deke. Usually he sends us indie movies to review. We've had some gems, we've had some duds. But this is the first movie that he's requested that we were aware of. I actually had the opportunity to see a premiere in Toronto for the Toronto After Dark Film Festival, so it's good to revisit it again. And John hadn't seen it, so it's interesting to hear his thoughts. Now let's get into our likes.
I really enjoyed the way that this film developed. The story was pretty predictable in a sense, but in revenge films, you kind of get an idea of what direction they're going to go in. But I like how this film was paced. It did have some good suspense moments. It built it up. But most importantly, I liked how it toyed with the idea of you not knowing if Jennifer was alive or dead. It did a good job making you wonder what has actually happened instead of her just jumping right into the revenge game.
Smile real pretty for the camera, girl.
This movie's fairly fast-paced in the sense that the assault actually happens very, very early on in the movie. You meet our antagonist in the first few minutes, and then it's almost like a mad scramble of them trying to figure out how to deal with the whole Jennifer Hills situation. And the third act is Miss Hills going on a rampage, and it's incredible. I absolutely love the torture aspect because the thing that they did really well in this is building the characters. So obviously you feel bad for Jennifer because of what she's going through, and it's a terrible situation. And the way that they drag it on just makes sure that you know how fucked up of a situation this is.
What's a pretty little thing like you doing out here all alone?
They make you really, really hate the people that are doing this to her. And then they also play with your emotions too, because you have somebody like Matthew who seems fairly innocent, but then also goes along with the assault. So you're kind of stuck in a weird spot with his character, but in general, you know how to feel about every single character, and it makes you enjoy how the last act of the movie goes.
While I'm watching this movie, I'm seeing the situation happen, especially in the third act, and all that's going through my head is what I would say if I was Jennifer. And when she does it, you feel a little more satisfied because you're like, yeah, I would do this too.
Suck it, bitch.
And the acts of torture are very extreme. There are a few moments where John just couldn't look. Almost everybody at some point is going to be like, oh, Jesus, did they have to go that far? And yes, they did. And it was great. All of the effects are excellent. And just like the slow pacing of some of the torture scenes, it's sometimes hard to handle. I also really like the cinematography and just the overall look of this movie because it just feels dirty, just like the subject matter. Not only are there long, awkward, tense shots, but there's also a lot of extreme close-ups, especially after everything's happened, where you have Jennifer just like covered in mud and she's shaking while she's walking through the forest. They just seem to hold shots a lot longer just to make sure that the audience feels awkward in most situations in this film. And some of these scenes, they must have been painful for the actual actors because every single actor had to endure something while shooting this. There are physically demanding roles for every person involved, and so I give kudos to all of the actors in this film.
I give them a lot of credit for how they delivered their lines. Everything that was in this film was very believable. The characters were ones that you just really wanted to hate, and they came across perfectly. And just Jennifer, how like her character went from being so innocent to just being this badass. Everything that was done by these characters was very believable.
So what didn't we like?
I would just like that's a little nitpicky here, and that has to do with the story. I felt that the cat and mouse game that Jennifer was playing with our antagonist, it was a little too rushed. It does make sense in a way, because if they were to find one of their friends dead, then she wouldn't be able to do anything for the rest of the film. But at the same time, you kind of want her toying with them to make them think that she is still alive. And they did that briefly, and I would have liked to see it more explored.
Now it's time for our final thoughts and ratings. I Spit on Your Grave is one of those remakes that I actually think is better than the original. Well, I respect and I love the original. I think the way that they created this for a modern audience is excellent. The pacing is great, all of the characters are very well fleshed out, and you're gonna care about every single one of them, whether you love them or you hate them. Everything is gritty, very intense, and when it comes to the actual revenge, it's brutal and rewarding. Sarah Butler did a great job as Jennifer Hills, and the rest of the cast did a great job as well, and I have no dislikes. So I have to give this 5 of my weekday supplies of alcohol out of 5.
This film is very well done. Especially being a remake, I thought this hit all the marks. This was an excellent story, and it was very well shot. The film had very graphic moments. It showcased something that's gonna make you feel uncomfortable, but like the good kind of uncomfortable. I loved all of the characters in this film, and my only dislike is I wish I had more of the story in the sense of a cat and mouse game between Jennifer and her attackers. But the film overall is an excellent film, and I highly recommend it. So with that being said, I'm gonna give this film 5 marijuana cigarettes out of 5.
Ma'am, is this your marijuana cigarette?
Oh, one of the boys must have left it.
You mean to tell me one of them guys is wearing lipstick?
As always, thank you for watching. Like this video and comment below with your thoughts on the film if you've seen it. If you haven't and you do want to check it out, there are links in the description where you can find it. If this is your first time here, make sure you subscribe to the channel, stay updated with everything Bloodbath and beyond.